Welcome to this evening's Board of Education meeting. I'm going to start with our normal announcement. Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey at 7 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. The board meeting will be held via an online platform, which can be accessed through Webex, and the address is on the district website. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and to transact any other business to come properly before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Thursday, September 10th, 2020, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Dana, may we have a roll call?
Michael Beelan.
Here.
Kent Diamond.
Here.
Brendan Galligan.
Here.
Rob Garrison.
Here.
Brian Morrissey.
Here.
Gretchen Oleg.
Here.
Tara Porto.
Here.
Peggy Astor.
Here.
Amy Root.
I am here. Sorry.
Great. Thank you, Dana. Can we have a flag salute? Rob? You too?
Allegiance
Flag
of the United States of America and to the
of
republic
the republic for which it stands,
one
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty and
justice for all.
justice for all.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Let's move on to announcements. Dr. Dolan, I believe you have an announcement?
I do. Unfortunately, I have a sad announcement tonight. One of our teachers, a first grade teacher from Jefferson Schools, Trish Merlot, died this week. Trish was the first grade teacher you would want your child to have. She was a skilled educator. She also totally understood 6-year-olds. She knew all the different types of personalities, and she was able to work with all those personalities. We certainly give our condolences to her husband and her daughter. Actually, we give condolences to the entire Jefferson community because she was a very important part of that school. She had been ill. This was a non-COVID related illness, and she certainly will be remembered for many years and for all the lives she's touched. And again, our condolences to her family.
Thank you, Dr. Dolan. That is a true loss to our community, and I do wish her family and the family at Jefferson all the best in the coming weeks as we move forward. Gretchen, I believe you have an announcement also.
I do. And before I dive in, I'll just say that I was lucky enough to have one of my kids have Trish Merlot. So it is a huge loss, and my condolences to her family. Everybody's just heartbroken at Jefferson, I know. So my announcement actually is to celebrate some amazing student achievements. I want to congratulate Westfield High School seniors Grace Endy, Samantha Sauls, and Maxwell Scalava, who have been named semifinalists in the 2021 National Merit Scholarship Program. They are among a nationwide pool of about 16,000 semifinalists who represent less than 1% of U.S. high school seniors. These academically talented students now have the opportunity to continue in the competition for national merit scholarships that will be offered next spring. So again, congratulations to Grace, Samantha, and Maxwell. Thank you.
Thank you, Gretchen. Michael, I believe you have an announcement.
I do. The Westfield Public School District is seeking substitute teachers and school nurses who hold appropriate credentials. The district accepts candidates with a standard certificate, CEAS, CE, or a current county substitute certificate. The district is also seeking substitute paraprofessionals and secretaries. Please contact Jill Kelly in the Human Resources Department if you'd like to apply. Her email address is jkelly, that's Kelly, at westfieldnjk12.org, or you can reach her by phone at 908-789-4400, extension 4425. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Kent, do you have an announcement?
I do. Please join the College Women's Club of Westfield for the third College Zoom series, College Admissions 101, What Do Colleges Want? This webinar, scheduled for Thursday, September 24th at 7 p.m., is free and will include a PowerPoint presentation and a Q&A session. Anna McLean of McLean College Counseling will discuss topics including what criteria do colleges use to select applicants and how do they vary college to college? Does a student's intended field or major matter in the application review? How can students prepare to put their best foot forward in their college applications? Guest panelist Tim Lair, Dean of College Counseling and Director of Student Support Services at the Penn Ray School in New Jersey, will also be on hand to answer questions. For more information and to register, please go to https://bit.ly/CWC College Admissions. Details on how to view this webinar will be sent upon registration. If you have additional questions, please email cwc.westfield@gmail.com prior to the evening event. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Amy, I believe you have an announcement also.
Yes, I do. The Anti-Racism Community Collaborative of Scotch Plains Westfield will once again offer Dialogue Circles on Race, an opportunity for community members to engage in honest and difficult conversations about race and injustice. Beginning the week of October 12th, a dialogue circle with 6 to 15 participants meets virtually for 5 weeks for 2 hours at a time. The collaborative describes the program this way. Co-led by trained facilitators, group members discuss challenging readings, learn to listen deeply to one another's experiences, and move forward in their individual journeys towards understanding and dismantling structural racism. A shared commitment to attending all 5 sessions ensures that participants will experience the full curriculum and can develop trust and connection within the group. Registration ends September 23rd. For more information, including dates and times of sessions, contact info@arccnj.org. Information also can be found in community flyers under the Family Resources tab on the district website. And just a personal endorsement, I'm currently doing a second iteration. They're calling it a 2.0. I participated the first time about 18 months ago and found it really, really helpful and interesting. And so I have week 4 of the 5-week series of the second session right now. So it's interesting. If you have the time, it's worth looking into. So I recommend checking it out, again, under community flyers under the Family Resources.
Thank you, Amy. I'm currently signed up for the new session and look forward to being part of it and seeing what it's all about. So anybody else who'd like to join me, it would be great. And anybody in the community, I think it would be a great opportunity. So thank you. Rob, I believe you have an announcement.
I do. A virtual information session regarding Odyssey of the Mind will be held on Wednesday, September 30th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Odyssey of the Mind is an international creative problem-solving competition for students in elementary, middle, and high school. Teams of 5 to 7 students collaborate together over 4 to 5 months to solve a predefined long-term problem and present their solution at a competition. They also participate in a spontaneous portion of the competition by generating solutions to a problem they have not seen before. Participants use knowledge of esteemed fields, independent thought, time and budget management, imagination, and public presentation abilities. In recent years, many Westfield teams advanced to world finals, and some have placed in the top 10. For parents, students, or anyone interested in participating in the Zoom virtual meeting should email Donna Kenny at donnakennykeith@gmail.com. That's DONNAKENNEYKEITH@gmail.com for the meeting link.
Thank you, Rob. Our last announcement for this evening is about our next Board of Education meeting, which will be held on Tuesday, October 6th. The time and location of the meeting will be announced later. Should the meeting be virtual, instructions for the public regarding remote access are on the district website at www.westfieldnjk12.org under the Board tab. The complete agenda of the meeting will be available on Friday, October 2nd, also under the Board tab on the district website. Thank you. We move on to recognize the public for agenda items only. At this time, we would, if you have any questions, if you put them over in the Q&A section, we can address those. And I think if it's okay with everybody, we'll continue with the meeting, and as questions arise, we can come back to them and reach out to those people. Okay. Dr. Dolan, I believe you have a superintendent's report.
I do. I actually have 2 reports tonight. The first one is about the opening of school. So today was day 4 of our school year, and many thanks to all who have made those 4 days possible. So first to our teachers who are completely revamping how they educate. I've been watching them. I don't know how they could be working any harder. They understand the commitment to their students, and they are working very hard. They're learning as much as they can. They're sharing as much as they can, and I give them a lot of credit for all their work. I'd like to thank our parents. Right, so parents getting students ready and out the door in time for school can be a challenge on a good day. But in addition to everything else, now we're working on completely different schedules. We have to remember A days and B days. We have to remember masks and daily questionnaires. So it's a lot for parents as well, and we appreciate all of their efforts to work with us and to keep their children calm in the midst of all of this. And our students, I have to say that once our students are indoors, it didn't seem as though they've been gone since March. They are adapting and they're becoming better at the technology day by day, and I give them a lot of credit. This isn't easy for them either, but they are doing their job, and I appreciate that. So we realize we have more work to do. We realize we have not hit perfection. We continue to work on technology and all the new processes and procedures. And we realize that some students find the new order a little more challenging than others. So it's all hands on deck, and we are all trying to work with students to support their efforts. Because again, we know students come with various skills and strengths and areas where they need support. So we definitely are taking that seriously and would ask for patience as we all go through this. This was day 4. So thank you for everyone. Just to give you a sense of what this looks like, I would like to show you a short video to give you a look into our schools for the past 4 days. In addition to school, it also shows you our new staff institute. So you'll be able to see the sessions we held before school started for all teaching staff who are new to our district. So as we all gather again, clearly school looks different. There's no doubt. I'd personally like to thank a few parents who took the time to write to me and to principals and to teachers, talking about their children's experience. Perhaps my favorite was a parent of an elementary school student. She spoke to her son when he came out of school on his first day in the building. And she said, "So, how was it?" He said, "Best day of my life." So it definitely looks different, but everyone is really trying to make it, if not the best day, a good day for everybody. So thank you to the parents who are acknowledging everyone's efforts and sending us those emails that give us a little more strength to continue to go on and to get better and better at this. So we appreciate everyone's cooperation and support. So the second report for tonight is a required report, required in one of our policies, and it's a report on our class of 2020. So our students who graduated this year. You know, it's such a different year. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. You know, how different would everything be? And honestly, at least for the class of 2020, it's not really that different so far. So on graduation day, we had 479 students who received diplomas. 3 of them needed to complete summer school, and then they received their diplomas. 2 students are continuing in transition, and 1 student is returning now because they have to complete something else in order to graduate. That translates into a graduation rate of 99.4%. And I give kudos to all those seniors. They did not have the senior year that they expected, but they persevered and they did meet all their graduation requirements. From the class of 2020, 93.6% are continuing their education right now. 5.3% have future plans unreported. 0.7% have gone right into work. 0.2% to the military. 0.2% to gap year. For the breakdown of what schools everyone attended, over 90% attended or are attending 4-year colleges and universities, 3.2% 2-year colleges, and 0.2% other schooling, which in this case is a college prep school. Our students who are going to 4-year institutions, they're attending 162 different colleges and universities in 35 different states, and 4 of them are attending universities out of the country. And every year we do give a list of most popular universities. If you scan them quickly, you can see quite a few of them are very large universities, so there is room there for a number of Westfield High School graduates. But you'll also see that our students are attending schools in different parts of the country. Also this year for the class of 2020, we have Ivy League representation in the schools that are listed there. And these students who graduated this year are certainly experiencing, not only did they experience a different senior year, but now they're experiencing a different freshman year in college. So we wish them well. We can't wait to hear how they're doing. And we hope life gets back to normal a little bit for them because they deserve to enjoy their college years and also learn during their college years. If there are any questions on either of those 2 reports or comments, I'd certainly welcome them.
I'd just like to make a quick comment. I tried to make an effort to reach out to some of my neighbors and people that I know who have kids across the district. And from what I've heard, the kids are very happy to be back in school. They do understand there's a couple of frustrations and some challenges and things to overcome, but the kids are happy to be back in school who are participating in the hybrid plan. So I think that's a good thing for us that we put this out there. We worked hard to get it. And, you know, the parents are truly appreciative of all the work that went into it and that they have this opportunity for their kids. So thank you to the administration for doing that.
I neglected to mention, I know there's frustration about the daily COVID questionnaire is on the Genesis parent portal. We are certainly trying to work through that and we'll continue to do so. I appreciate the patience of the parents. If you can also just hand in a paper one or write a handwritten note at this point until we work out all the problems. But that questionnaire is so important. I have heard from parents that they truly didn't understand all of the symptoms and all of the things they should be paying attention to. And that has caused some families to check with their doctors and they might not have otherwise. So people are taking it seriously, and that's really important for the entire community.
Dr. Dolan, quick question about the graduation report. When was the survey performed for post-high school plans? And have anything, if it was done back in May, do we have a sense for how different things are with students staying home instead of going away to college this year because of COVID?
It usually is, it's not like one survey, it's a rolling one, like it continues throughout the summer because it's not as though every student responds right away. But to your point, I'm sure there might be some people who reported in June or July, and maybe their plans have changed as the universities change their plans as well. It's certainly possible that that's the case.
Thank you.
Two comments. One, from the student perspective, I'm hearing comments because I have children in the high school, and they are glad to be back. And I think seeing their friends again, and even as socially distant. I mean, they're saying that the teachers and staff are being very diligent about making sure that social distancing practices are being followed, and that they have to walk in certain directions within the high school. And I'm speaking, I assume it's similar in other schools when they're going around the hallways to try to minimize. So it's very well planned out as far as allowing them to go to school. And then the other question I had is, in regard to the presentation, you showed the most popular schools. Were those the schools people attended or most that they were accepted to?
That was the ones that they're attending.
Okay, just curious.
So most of those had 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 Westfield students attending.
Okay.
Any other questions for Dr. Dolan? Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Dolan. At this time, I'd like the board to approve the minutes of the board meeting held on September 8th, 2020. Do I have a second? Rob? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any non-approvals? No? Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to move on to personnel. I'd like the board to approve personnel items 1 through 21. Do I have a second?
Second.
Brendan, thank you. Any questions or comments? Seeing no questions or comments, Dana, can we have a roll call?
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Kent Diamond,
Yes.
Brittany Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Ryan Morrissey,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes, although I abstained from item 9.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Peggy Oster,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to facilities. Brendan, Michael, I believe you have a report. Sorry.
I'm happy to introduce George, but
No, I saw Beelan, I said B, went right to Brendan. Sorry.
Yeah, we have not had a meeting since last week, but as we had noted, we're going to do a presentation. There's been many discussions about how we can honor Dr. Nelson, and George Duthie is going to just provide an overview of the memorial that we're planning to put in in Westfield High School. All yours, George.
Okay, so thanks. So Brian, are you putting that up? You want me to do screen share? Oh, there we go. Never mind. There it is. Okay. I think Dr. Dolan may want to say a few words before we open. I know that an opening remark about the project and the vision.
Sure. Just for some people who might not have been involved in the district for many years, Dr. Derek Nelson was a committed educator in Westfield who understood our students and was always a role model for all of us. He joined Westfield Public Schools in 2010 as assistant principal of Roosevelt. He then served as the assistant principal and principal of Westfield High School. And tragically, he died in April 2019 after donating bone marrow in an effort to save the life of a 14-year-old boy in France whom he didn't know. So since then, we've all talked about how can we continue his legacy and how can we make sure we remember him and his work. So last year at the high school, we surveyed both staff and students, asking them for appropriate ways to honor Dr. Nelson's legacy. And one suggestion that kept on coming up focused on the courtyard. The staff remembered that because when Derek became principal, he started a tradition of having a welcome back barbecue in the courtyard for staff. And it was a way to build camaraderie in a large school with a large staff. And the students remembered that he would come into the courtyard at lunchtime when kids were there. There was opportunities for him to get to know the students. So that's what had us focusing on the courtyard. We had started this work actually last year before the pandemic hit, and it's been delayed by it, but we've been able to work through a bit. And tonight, Georgia Duthie, our architect, is going to explain the vision that we do have for a courtyard in memory of Dr. Derek Nelson that will serve our high school community.
So again, we hope that you'll agree that this is inspired by the memory of Derek, and as well as who I did know, he's a great guy, and also, of course, what we're envisioning, as a warm and welcoming area where the school community can gather, reflect, bond, and remember Derek and others as well. Okay, so in the main courtyard of the school, the area highlighted there in the aerial, as you'll see, Brian. I guess you'll give me the next slide, right? Can I do it myself or? Okay, thanks. So this is the plan really of the existing courtyard, what it looks like. It's a lot of concrete. On the next slide, I'll show you some pictures, but just so you can see, this is what it looks like right now. There's a lot of concrete, older concrete, a very kind of stark environment in terms of the amount of concrete and the tables scattered about. And what we're envisioning in the next slide are some elements that we've taken from other projects, and we've actually looked at some ideas and images to come up with some components for the courtyard that we're going to incorporate. Now, there are going to be 2 phases to the project, and we're going to talk about the first phase, which is ready to be started hopefully next week. And we'll talk about what that phase entails, and phase 2, which will follow at a later date. But some of the elements, a rain garden, a native garden, so we want to have a very natural setting in a place where life is present, right? So we have the native garden, the knoll, an area, a flat area where the kids can gather informally, socially distanced, of course, for now anyway, but a place where they can go and study, have informal groups. We're envisioning the courtyard also as a place where you can have musical ensembles, a barbecue, of course, lots of informal gatherings, events in the evenings and things like that. There's going to be lighting out there and other elements as well. The commons area be a central area in the middle of the courtyard, sort of in the middle, where you'll have an area with tables. We're going to do sales structures, which are on the bottom right-hand side, not in those colors, but in a blue and white color, obviously for Westfield High School. And some lighting, and that will create a shade, because one of the things in courtyard now is a lot of sun gets into the courtyard. It's not necessarily a hospitable place to be unless you have some shade. So we're going to have a lot of shading elements. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of plantings and so forth. In the next phase of the work, and on the bottom, I'm sorry, Brian, just one more. On the next phase of the work, on our bottom left-hand side, we're going to create what's called the Overlook. Now, the Overlook is going to actually be adjacent to the rain garden. We have an envision a bridge with an area where you can actually look down onto the rain garden. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as I go through the plans. Next slide, Brian, please. So this was the concept drawing. This is how we had envisioned the original design of the courtyard. And if you're looking at the plan and you're familiar with the school, on the left side is the guidance area. On the right side is basically the cafeteria hallway, the 2-story classroom wing on the bottom, and then, of course, the central hallway on top where the wood shop and TV studio and rooms like that are. So the knoll area, as I said before, the central commons area in blue there, they're all of those elements are kind of plugged into where we would envision them going in the final plan. Now, the plan that's actually being constructed is very, very close to this, but what we did was we flipped the native garden and the remembrance garden. We flipped those 2 things. The Remembrance Garden is an area that we see as a contemplative area. It's going to be a little different. It's going to be, hopefully a little quieter. We're going to have the memorial element for Derek in that spot. That element has not yet been determined. There is going to be a flagpole there. There's going to be plantings, and there's going to be some interlocking rings, and I'll show you those to signify unity and harmony, but Zen garden type of design. So, Brian, the next slide, please. So, more detail, and there's a lot here, but I think, again, the orientation of this slide is the same, but the highlighted areas in green and blue are going to be our first two things that we're going to build in phase one. Now, also in phase one, it's important to note that there is a lot of preparatory work, infrastructure work, electrical, irrigation lines are being run. We're going to have underground conduits for technology, future technology, lighting conduits, and things like that will be done in phase one to get us ready for the future phases of the project. So in the area you can see highlighted here, we have the commons area in the center, and then we have the remembrance garden to the bottom of that. Okay, and so those will be the things you'll see in phase one, and then we have some of the other elements that will be in subsequent phase two, including the rain garden that we discussed, the overlook, some winding pathways as opposed to just the straight paths that you have now in some cases, and we'll be probably making some tweaks to this as we go along. We landscape, stone walls, places to sit, benches, and elements that you can sit upon. And then, of course, we're hoping to create that nice flat grass area with synthetic turf where the kids can sit and gather. Okay, so there's a lot there in this project. So next, please. So more of a detailed view of what we're planning in phase one. Again, the phase that we're getting ready to start, hopefully next week. The commons area with the sail shading structures. The sail shading structures are being worked on right now by a vendor. Tables and benches and chairs. The memorial garden, the remembrance garden, remembrance area. There'll be benches. There's going to be a pergola pavilion structure over the remembrance garden as well for enclosure purposes. We're going to also improve things like barrier-free accessibility. There's some steps and changes in levels to get into the courtyard now. When we're complete with the project, all of the doorways will be accessible, okay, to folks in wheelchairs. And we'll be introducing other barrier-free elements to the project as well at the tables and places like that. So there will be a flagpole, which will be lit. There will be, some nice sculptural elements added to it as well. Okay, so phase one, again, the area that's shown within the dashed line. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell, what we have planned for the courtyard renovations and the plan inspired by the memory of Derek. Thank you for questions.
Yeah, George, design looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, as you showed from the early pictures, this is the courtyard's an area that's needed work for a long time, and it was a spot that was special to Derek. So I'm glad we were able to come up with a nice phased-in plan, get something going immediately, and then be able to expand upon that.
I'm excited about it too. I think it's a great little project. I really do. Not so little, but it's a great project.
I just want to add the timeline. So as George mentioned, that we plan to start working next week on this project. They're going to be working after hours. So the kids are in school until 12:40-ish. The contractor's coming at about 1 and we'll be working until about 8. And we'll be working on Wednesdays when the students will not be there. So we expect phase one to take about 2 months. So somewhere around mid-November, we should have phase one complete or close to completed.
When will phase two start and begin?
We have to do some more planning for phase two, but that would most likely be the summer of 2021.
Okay, and you think it'll finish in the summer too?
Oh yeah, I think that we could finish the project in the summertime. Yes.
We would try to start as soon as school ends next year.
Thanks.
The only exception would be landscaping. We do have to plant certain shrubs and trees, as everyone knows, certain times of the year. So we'd have to work with the landscaper on that.
Right.
I have a question about it. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'm wondering, will the kids or anybody be able to access it during these phases, or is everybody waiting until it's complete and then maybe there's an unveiling of it where his daughter and family members are invited, or is there anything like that being planned?
So we haven't planned anything yet. I would think we would do some kind of unveiling, assuming we can, probably in the spring, because as I mentioned, it'll probably be complete sometime in November. So I would think, depending on what happens with COVID, we would try to do something at that point. And our intent would be for the students to be able to use it next spring. And then we would wait to do the second part of the construction next summer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think once the memorial garden is in place, that would be the time to bring Derek's family in. That being the more important part for the memorial than phase 2, at least in my mind.
Right.
Right. So far, all I did write to Derek's fiance, just to let her know that we were beginning this. But that's all I've done so far.
Thank you.
If I could just add, it's lovely to see it laid out like this, but it's also really, really neat to hear, how important the courtyard was to him. And I think it's a great thing that we're going to be able to do for the kids at the high school, to have a great space like this, kind of a hidden gem inside the school. And certainly until your kids are in the high school, and even then, there's really very few times where you get to get inside and see what the physical space looks like. So it's kind of nice to have a preview of something that kids will be able to enjoy for years, and know that it's because of Derek. So kudos.
Yeah, and I'd like to say, I mean, Amy, I agree with what you're saying. Not only is this, a memorial to Derek, a place that he loved, but it's also a great addition to our school. Our school remains with a very large population, and it's great for us to have a space where our kids can get outside, especially in these COVID times where fresh air is so important. And just be able to breathe a little bit and have a nice place for them to get outside and enjoy. So it's a true enhancement to the high school. And I appreciate the work that was put into it, and hope that people find it as a special place to remember Derek.
I think it'll be really nice for the kids that are still in the high school that had Derek Nelson as their principal, to just go there and see the memorial and know that he is being remembered, and for many years to come.
George, for phase 2, has there been any consideration to including outdoor classroom elements?
Not yet, Brendan. I mean, other than the informal settings you would create out there, on the grass maybe, or through other furniture. But yeah, I would think certainly we could give consideration to an actual teaching wall, like what you have at Tamaqua. You have that outdoor area similar to that. We could certainly look at something like that if you wanted to.
Yeah, look at the feasibility. I mean, I know more than half of our day is lunch periods, but for the other periods of the day, it might be worth looking into, at least from a look at the costs of it kind of thing.
There would certainly be nothing preventing, kids from going out there and, gathering informally around a teacher and but if you wanted to add actual, teaching elements, we could certainly do that. We do expect to have technology out there. So that would certainly do that. Sure.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much, George. As usual, your architectural drawings are amazing, and the support you give to Westfield High School is great, and we appreciate you working with us.
Well, I appreciate you letting me work for you. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
No, you have to stay until the end like everybody else.
I'll stay if you need me. Okay. Thanks,
George.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks, George.
Good night now.
Bye. Thanks, George.
Sure.
Okay, we move on to long-range planning, whether that means a week or 2 weeks or 6 months. Gretchen, what do you think?
I'm not going to make a prediction because I know that'll come back to bite me, but I have no report tonight.
Thank you. Policies, Brendan.
No report tonight.
Okay. Curriculum, Amy.
Since last week, we have not met, so I have no report, but I am excited that we have a curriculum meeting planned for Thursday, September 24th. So committee members, mark your calendars now.
Amy, do you know if those are going to be WebEx in person? Are we going to be able to meet, or is that still being determined?
I think it's still up in the air. Paul, do you have any thoughts about that yet?
My thoughts are what Dr. Dolan tells me they are when it comes to safety and all of our safety and health. So yeah, but seriously, to be consistent, I'll talk to Dr. Dolan, but we haven't ventured into that yet, as far as I know.
That's called passing the buck, Paul. That's what.
Oh no, I see it as honoring the, no, but I'm not aware that we've done that yet. But
no,
it'd be nice, and it's a small group. But I'll talk to Dr. Dolan. We'll see. But yeah, we haven't ventured that way yet.
Yeah, and it may depend too on the agenda and how many other people we have coming to speak with us, right, Paul?
Right. I think that whatever we do first meeting would most likely be just sort of catching up on the new world that we live in, hopefully temporarily. And we wouldn't be delivering any new curriculum at the moment, but we could be talking about what the year looks like and what we can expect to be coming down the pipe.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Amy. Kent, do you have a finance report?
Yes, thank you. I'd ask the board to consider items 1 through 5 on the finance report. May I have a second?
Second.
Robert, thank you. This is just standard stuff, paying bills and that kind of stuff. All the heavy things were done last week. But if there are any questions, Dan or I open to entertain them. Otherwise, I think we're ready for a roll call.
Michael Beelan,
Yes.
Kent Diamond,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Brian Morrissey,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Peggy Oster,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Okay, and Brian, I'm sorry, Kent, are there any meetings scheduled for the finance committee in the near future?
Not yet. Dana, do you have any idea?
No, well, I'll organize something for probably early October.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Dana and Kent. Technology, Rob.
Technology and communication finally officially.
Yeah. We'll get that changed,
Summaries. Nothing official because we haven't met. We are looking to meet just prior to our next board meeting. And I don't mean to put Brian or Marianne on the spot, but I don't know if you have any comments or observations, or if you want to say anything now, you don't have to, but by any means. But I want to give them some room before we had our next meeting because of being new school year and everything going on. But Brian, I don't know if you have anything to say. Good. Better everything. I think it's better left unsaid at this point. Let's wait a couple weeks till our next meeting.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Moving on, I'd like the board to consider the notes for the record. So considered, we move on to, does anybody have any unfinished business? No? Do we have any new business? Okay. Any liaison reports?
Yeah, briefly. Over the last couple of weeks, I've sat in on a couple Webex calls through the School Boards Association. 2 weeks ago, which I didn't summarize last week, was with Dr. Gambino from the Department of Education, talking specifically about school security in the age of everybody wearing masks. So the DOE is going to be coming out with guidance at some point in the near future, if they haven't in the last week, for best practices for schools with regards to visitors and masks and all that kind of stuff, as well as how to do fire drills socially distanced. There was a rumor that went around that the Department of Community Affairs was going to be waiving fire drill requirements. They can't do that. It's statutory that there has to be one fire drill and one security drill per month in every school. But the state fire commissioner says that when you're going to split sessions, it's got to involve both sets of students. Every student has to have one fire drill per month, one security drill per month. So for schools that have 3 split sessions, they have to do 6 drills. We would have, when the guidance eventually comes out. But how do you do a fire drill with everybody staying 6 feet apart? So lots of questions and not a lot of answers there, but there will be guidance coming out about that. And then the second meeting was actually right before this meeting. It was at a town hall with Governor Murphy. Lots of questions. Again, not a lot of answers, but I asked him specifically for some guidance from Department of Children and Families for when parents can leave their kids alone without creating issues. New Jersey is one of the few states that doesn't have a law that says what age you can leave a kid alone. So, lots of talk about how do you balance that with going back to work if both parents have to go to work to pay the bills, or in the case of single parent households, so that parents aren't feeling at risk to what used to be called DIFUS investigations, DCP&P. Nobody wants that, and nobody wants to, especially if there can be some guidance to clarify that so that nobody puts themselves at risk.
Did you get an answer?
No, of course not. But he did say he would talk to the director of children and families and try and get some guidance out.
Okay, thank you, Brendan. Any other liaison reports? I did attend last evening the Rec Commission meeting for the month. I think we pretty much summarized a lot of their things. They have Brightwood Park is on pause right now, waiting for a study for feasibility of some of the bike paths that they want to put in there. They did a report on the pool, how it opened, and the reservations and so forth and so on, to give a report on the pool committee. They're continuing to work on the plan for Edison Field. They had a couple of requests come forth, one being to have Sid Fay Houlihan, one of those two fields, lined for girls lacrosse. They're going to ask the girls lacrosse team to come present to them. And also they were asked by the Soccer Association to put in an extra gate down at Sid Fay Houlihan so that the kids could exit and enter the fields a little bit easier without as much crunch in one area, to allow for more social distancing. I think that pretty much summarizes all the things that discussed last evening. So also let me remind everybody, I think I did last meeting, please, if you haven't reached out to your liaison PTSOs, please do so. I know they're starting up with their meetings, their board meetings, and some of them have general membership meetings scheduled. How those will look, I don't really know, but please reach out to them if they need your support. It would be great if you could be there. If we have no other liaison reports at this time, I'd like to recognize the public for questions or comments. Once again, in the Q&A section, you can write in your question and we can read the question and get the proper person to address that question. So we'll wait a couple of minutes to see if anybody has any questions that they'd like to ask at this time.
Peggy, while we're doing that, one thing, if it's not too late, that I'd like to mention is the school boards convention is coming up. And well, it's not just the school boards, but schools convention is coming up. And I don't think it's too late to register, but it would be great. I know I've registered, and I think a couple of board members have, and it would be great to have more participation from the board, and maybe even try and coordinate some meetings that we can all attend together.
Yeah, so this year's school board convention is going to be 100% virtual, if that wasn't already stated. And in response to that, because they're not renting the convention hall in Atlantic City anymore, the rate for Board of Education has gone down significantly. It used to be about $200 a person comes to the district, and now it's, I believe, $200 for up to 25 people from the district to attend. So board members, administrators, really whoever we want to attend once we get the group deal.
And it's during the same time that it had originally been scheduled.
Yes, and then all of the sessions are going to be recorded, and you can view them later as well and get Board Member Academy credits after the fact.
Great. Thank you. Brian Ocker, do we see anybody writing in a question or answer? No? Well, I'm still saying to people, if you do have questions, I mean, this is a completely different school year. Your teachers, your administrators, your principal probably have a lot of answers for you in reference to your child's classes and so forth. So,
Good question.
Okay, I'll read the question. Why is there lunch scheduled in the middle of the school day when they are not allowed to eat in school? They need that 50 minutes for learning, not sitting in a lunch study. Dr. Dolan, I'm going to pass that one over to you.
Sure. So I'm guessing this has to do with middle school. Every level has different types of scheduling, right? The high school, they were able to redo the different periods, and most students, not all, most students don't have a lunch period. They were able to take our normal 9-period day and make it into an 8-period day. So I don't think the question is there. The middle school is very different. When one grade has lunch, the other grades have other subject areas. So the problem comes to you only have so many staff for every subject area. And if you were to take away, they actually tried to do this. They worked on the schedule to try to take away lunch. But if you take away lunch for a given grade, you would have your special subject teachers especially would be teaching 2 grades at the same time. There's no other way to do it. Right, so it's because of the nature of the middle school schedule. Middle school schedules are scheduled in teams, and there are a number of teachers who work in different grades. So there was not a way to have all students be taught, because you'd have teachers who would have to teach 2 different grades at the same time. And they did try to change it, but because of the nature of the teaming schedule at the middle school level, that doesn't work. So they do have various items that they are having the kids be involved in during the lunch, depending on weather and a few other things. They are going to be doing some advisory work where they work on things like social and emotional learning during that period. I don't believe they've done that in the first 4 days, but that is scheduled so that A, students can have breaks. B, if it's nice, students can go outside under the supervision of teachers. And C, there will be advisory work where we work on social and emotional learning. But there was not a way to change that middle school schedule. And again, every level has a different type of schedule, and it had to be modified. Each one had to be modified in a different way.
Okay. We'll wait a couple more minutes if anybody else has any questions.
Is it piano time?
It is a piano time. Instead of the Jeopardy theme, you can listen to my kids play the piano.
There you go. Do we see anybody typing, Brian? Okay, well, I remind you that if you do have specific questions about your child, their teachers and their administrators, principals are there to help you through this time. And I'm sure we'll be happy to answer some specific questions for you if you didn't have an opportunity to answer the question right now. Do the board have any other questions at this time? Okay, so I propose that we adjourn tonight's meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Brendan? Thank you, everybody. And let's hear for, I guess we have 3 weeks till our next meeting, and we hope that, I don't know, we get better, we move better along, and Genesis is cooperating by then. So everybody stay healthy, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Thank
Good,
you.
good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Wear your masks. Bye.
Good night now.